Hello, my name is Xiaoyan. Welcome to How Can We Take on the Next Normal? This is a 7-part series brought to you by GIC, and it is designed to help anyone who is beginning to take their first steps into an uncertain, unknowable future. This is the introduction video, the first of 7. In this video, we're going to unpack why is it so hard for us to move on from one normal to a next normal. Whoever you are, there is a result that you're trying to get. It could be an outcome, it could be a target, it could be a KPI, whatever it is, all of us are trying to get somewhere in life. And there is a range of actions that we are prepared to do or we have been doing it that is supposed to get us where we want to go. This equation of do a certain action, get a certain result, when this equation is functioning just fine, then we believe that things are working as normal and we believe nothing needs to change. It's fine. I do this, I get this. I do this, I get this. What's there to question? The tricky part is when this equation starts to break down, it doesn't work anymore for us. That is when you start to question, hey, I'm doing that thing that I usually do, but I'm not getting where I want to go, or I'm getting something really weird and strange. I don't understand it. I don't get it. That is how it sounds like in real life when we start questioning if things are really working. We start to wonder whether the old normal is really working out well for us. And that is when we start to wonder whether something needs to change. But this change, whatever it is going to be really difficult, it's going to be uncomfortable. And many of us would rather keep doing the same actions, even if they get us the same results that are not that satisfying for us. And this is how we stay stuck. To move on from an old normal that is not working that well for you anymore, you actually have to willingly take a step back to see that this is the real equation that you are dealing with. Taking a step back to see the situation and to see what is it that I'm doing? Why am I not getting it? That could be one of the most strategic things that you do in any given moment in time. Because the range of what you see and don't see will always affect the range of what you do or don't do. And it will always fundamentally affect what you get and don't get. You can see this equation of actions and results as the status quo. And how the status quo is created is when we did a bunch of things and we got certain results and we just got used to it. It is only through disruption or through great dissatisfaction when we will step back and force ourselves to see something new. That's the only way you can ever move forward from a disruption. If you refuse to take that one step back, that's how you can get stuck. And you can get stuck in a status quo that is harmful or dangerous or just ineffective for you for years, because we are sometimes too scared or too indifferent or just not used to questioning how do we see things. So whatever it is that you're going through, great questions to ask yourself is, okay, what's causing my old equation to break down? Why is this old equation not working out that well for me anymore? Pick an element in the situation. It could be a person, could be a thing, could be an action, could be a policy, whatever it is that you're trying to work through. And ask yourself, what am I seeing or not seeing about this thing? How are others seeing it? And how are others not seeing it? What are they seeing that I'm not seeing? What are they not seeing here? And how does this link to all these different actions that we're all doing? And how does it lead to the results that we are starting to see right now? Once you start to unpack what created the original status quo, then you can start to look into what do we need to build our next normal? What is a new way that we can choose to see this element that we're dealing with? And if I chose to see it this way, what new and different actions and results could become possible because of that? What you want to do is pause the video here and get into some self-reflection or team reflection. Think of a situation that you're dealing with right now and work through these questions before you proceed. Doing this work of exploring our perspectives of how we see things or not see things and trying to understand how others see it, this is really strategic and significant work because it is new awareness that creates new choices. You cannot choose what you cannot see, and you certainly cannot change what you cannot see. The very first step to change is learning to see something new. Once you are willing to question what is an old way of seeing something that I can leave behind, because I can see that it is not leading up to the results that I want. It is not creating the actions that I really want to do here. What are some new ways of seeing that I want to explore that can lead to much more productive actions and much more satisfying results? It all begins with seeing. This is really crucial in the world today because the whole world is going through so many disruptions. And I think it's really important for people to see that things are not always that simple. A powerful way of learning to discern whether a situation is simple or complicated or complex is shown in this diagram. Let's say on one axis, you have level of agreement between people. On one end, very, very low agreement. And on the other end, very, very high levels of agreement. And on another axis, you have the level of certainty or clarity about a situation. On one end is extremely high certainty. And on the other end, it is extremely low levels of certainty. I'm super unclear about what's going on. A simple or obvious situation is one where there are extremely high levels of agreement and extremely high levels of certainty. The problem and the solution is crystal clear to most average people. All you got to do is sense what's going on, categorize like what we should be doing, and then just respond. It's very straightforward. There's one right factual answer. All you got to do is follow best practices. A simple problem that you're trying to solve might be, how do I bake a cake? Or how do I use Microsoft Excel? Just follow the best practices. A complicated scenario is one where the problem is clear enough. There is a decent level of certainty, but the solutions are clear mostly to experts. And the experts may have varying levels of agreement or disagreement. In this scenario, you sense what's going on, but you can't just simply categorize. You need some level of expertise and skill to analyze the data that's coming up. Only then can you figure out what is the best way to respond. In this situation, there are many right answers, and what you need to do is to find some expert advice or follow expert practices, and you may not necessarily be able to figure this out by yourself. A complicated scenario that you might be in is, how do I fix a battleship? Or how do I cater for 3,000 people at a wedding? In those situations, you might want to defer to expert advice rather than try to solve it on your own. Now, a lot of us are increasingly in complex situations, trying to solve complex problems. And what complex means is the levels of disagreement, the levels of lack of clarity have gotten pretty high, and problems and solutions are both not clear at all. And it may only be clear on hindsight. In those situations, I can't even sense what do I do and where do I begin. And the first step is actually just to experiment, which means just try something. Only when I try something and put something out there, am I able to sense some data back. And from whatever data that I sense, I adapt my solution accordingly. In any complex scenario, parts of it might be simple, parts of it might be complicated, parts of it could be solved by best practices and expert practices, but really a lot of it, the bulk of the situation you're in, there aren't any right answers to go with, and instead answers will emerge along the way, and they can only emerge when I collaborate or co-create with other people who want to find what is this shared good for us answers together. The last situation you might have to face is the chaotic situation. This is one where the problem is so clearly out of control that it must be contained with whatever immediate solution we can throw at it to bring it under some control. In this scenario, you have to act. There isn't time to sense. In fact, it is so crazy that action, any imperfect action, is better than nothing. What this scenario prizes is a take charge and do whatever works, even if it's imperfect, that's fine, because we're looking for answers that are good enough just to keep us alive. In this scenario, because you have to keep acting and acting and acting again, you will make mistakes, things will be imperfect, you might break some stuff along the way, but it was all in service of survival. An example of a chaotic scenario would be, how do I escape from a burning building? Or how do I figure out this pandemic that nobody knows where it came from and what we're supposed to do, and there's contradictory information. And chaotic situations are not fun. You will make lots of mistakes. There's plenty of imperfections, and you have to be prepared to apologize, but don't apologize for the need to act. Now is a good time to hit the pause button and go for a self-reflection or a team reflection. If you take a look at this chart, where would you place some of the individual or organizational work situations that you're facing now? And now that you have placed some of your situations on this chart, does seeing this anew help you to process some of the actions that are working or not working that well for you? And does it help you to better understand the results that you've been getting or not getting? How does this chart challenge or affirm your approach in the situation? When you're dealing with complex or chaotic situations, as many of us have been dealing with in these years following the pandemic, we all need heuristics. And heuristics are a way of problem solving that is very practical. It is not guaranteed to be optimal, perfect, or rational, but it is still sufficient for reaching an immediate short-term goal. So the heuristic can snap us out of analysis paralysis, and it can bring a lot of new energy and new life, especially to overloaded minds or perfectionistic minds. Rules of thumb or heuristics are most useful in unpredictable, uncertain situations where the normal rules that once applied just clearly don't apply anymore. For example, American Marines may have spent a lot of time and effort and energy in memorizing a battlefield plan built around hard and fast rules, but they also appreciate that part of their reality is things may not work out. And when the battlefield plan breaks down and nobody knows what to do, not even the commander, they all rely on the heuristic: capture the high ground, stay in touch, keep moving. Capture the high ground, stay in touch, keep moving. And you may think, how can such a simple little rule of thumb work? But that's what they need. They don't have time to think, they need to act. And the simplicity of the heuristic keeps them alive enough to figure out what's the next step. And that's actually how you deal with uncertainty. Rock climbers also know there's going to be moments in time where suddenly the path is completely bricked up. Maybe there's a landslide. Whatever it is, you can get through it by always having 3 points of contact: hand, hand, foot, hand, foot, or whatever it is. But you need to have 3 points of physical contact so that you can climb your way out of any situation. I'm bringing all of this up so that you can see that these 5 long-term investment principles that we are introducing to you through this series, I want you to see it as a set of heuristics that are kept simple enough so that you can use them to climb out of a disruptive crisis, or use it just to navigate a way forward when your own old battle plans have fallen apart. Don't see these 5 principles as a set of right answers. Instead, I invite you to see them as a set of context lenses that you deliberately choose to wear for a short while, just to see what are some new choices that are actually available for me. Thank you for going through this first introduction session with me. This is the first of 7 videos brought to you by the GIC. If you found it useful, please watch the rest of the videos. And if you would like, please forward it to someone who you want to journey with, a friend or a teammate. I will see you for the next session. Thank you.